Today we're going to be looking at the different colors that elements form when their electrons get excited. Each one of these dishes has a different compound with a different metal element in it. For instance, this first dish has strontium. You can see that strontium gives a very vibrant, bright red color, but it kind of flickers in and out. It's not a very steady flame. Calcium gives more of a deeper orangish color, but it also kind of flickers in and out. It doesn't have a very high intensity. Sodium, on the other hand, makes a very bright yellowish orange flame, and it's actually used in street lights. So if you recognize that color from when you drive on the highway, it's that same color. You can see that copper has kind of a greenish tint to it, and if you look very closely at the bottom of that dish, it also has some blue mixed in there. Lithium is very hard to miss. Lithium has a very, very deep magenta color, and it's very, very intense, almost like sodium's. Potassium, on the other hand, has more of a whitish violet color, and kind of through that blue flame you can see that the lavender color of potassium is kind of shining through, but it kind of flickers in and out as well. The point being, each of these elements, when its electrons get excited, forms a distinctly different color, and we're going to use those colors to identify some unknown samples in this lab. So for our second part of the lab here, I have 3 unknown samples. Sample 1, sample 2, sample 3. I also have a very intense source of heat. You can see that bright blue flame of the Bunsen burner. We're going to use that to ignite and excite the electrons of these samples, and we're going to try to use the colors that we see to identify them. One thing to take note of, we're going to be using pieces of wood that have been soaking in the elemental samples of each of these. But when you put one of these wooden splints into the Bunsen burner, it's going to ignite in the orange color regardless of what the sample is. So we kind of have to look past that orange color to really see what the sample could be. So we're going to start first with sample 1. We're going to take sample 1. I'm going to ignite it here at the tip of the flame, and we're going to see what color it forms. And you can see it's a very intense magenta color. Okay, sample 2. We're going to take the wooden splint for sample 2. We're going to do the same thing. And even though this wooden splint burns orange, I see that very intense yellowish orange flame, and it's very bright. Okay, here's our last sample. Our last sample is here on the right. And when I ignite this sample, we're going to look very closely into the color that we see here. That looks like a lavender, very pale pink color at the edge of this wooden splint, and it's kind of flickering in and out. Based on what you just saw, you should be able to identify the unknowns that were contained within each one of these samples.